logs rolling in off the East River bank.
Hi, I'm Heidi, and I'm enjoying a beautiful day in Piedmont, California, one of my favorite places to be. And you can just see that it's gorgeous in the hills here. And today I have the honor of being at one of my heroes' homes. So I'm at Kathleen Callahan's house here in Piedmont, and she was my life coach. And so I just wanted to kind of share with everybody the beauty of inviting someone into your world to share and encourage and motivate you. And absolutely what I'm doing has been born out of that. So I just invite you to come join us for a little bit and just garner her wisdom and have a little conversation about life and community with us. So welcome to Piedmont, California. So I'm here with Kathleen Callahan, and we're in Piedmont, California, and I just wanted to share with everybody this exciting chance to talk to Kathleen because in my own life, part of what's birthed the Authenticity Project into being, and absolutely you know that, is the fact that I hired a life coach last year. And so before I could even kind of begin anything new in my life, I had to get out of my own way. And it was suggested that I try having a life coach, and it's absolutely the most powerful thing I think you can do because you're inviting somebody else into your world to help you walk and to figure out what you're thinking on a different level, and it invites an outside person who may not know really anything about you into the process so that you're also being infused with their knowledge and their journey of themselves. And I think life coaches have definitely decided that they're going to live boldly and that's what I wanted to do. So tell us a little bit about life coaching, Kathleen, and you.
Coaching was something that I'd always been interested in doing in my job as a real estate broker. People don't realize this, it's probably about 75% coaching. People come to me and they say, I've decided I want to buy this house, or I want to sell my house and get a bigger one, a smaller one. And it's a big deal. It is a huge deal for people. Every single thing about their relationship with their parents, their relationship with money, the relationship that they're in, if it's a couple, sort of just gets thrown into this blender of how it's all going to get stirred up, and it's going to have to be dealt with if they want to if they want to accomplish their goal. So it is kind of something that I always have done, and it's the part that I enjoy the most about that job. So due to a number of things that happened in my life, I decided I want to concentrate more on what I love doing. Sort of eliminate the parts that I don't like doing and just do the parts that I like doing. And I knew that coaching had the chance of being that thing. And so I said it was like no expectations, no attachment to outcome. I just took this course with the idea that maybe I'll become a coach, maybe I won't, but I sure will get some coaching out of it. So it was kind of a 2-for-1 thing. I had come to a point in my life where I wanted to sort of, put on the afterburners and move forward. And I felt sort of as if I was in a position to be able to do that after a very long time of working very hard, that I was in the position to do that, and I'm very happy that I did it. That's why I wanted to become a coach. And the course I took was called Coactive Coaching, which is one of the premier coaching trainers organizations in the world. Just happens to be located near where I live.
So what's the point of life coaching?
It's literally, and I know this sounds like it may sound like I'm not really describing it well, but each person who comes to coaching already knows what they're going to make out of it. Some people waste it. Some people just use it as the excuse they've been looking for to just blossom and bloom and zoom down the road. You're a good example of that. But I have a question for you. How did you, you said it was suggested to you that you try life coaching. Who suggested it to you, and how did it, I know that I got you through the certification process at Coactive Coaching, but I'm not sure how you got me.
Well, I had a good friend who was also in the life coaching coactive program, and we had talked for a long time, a couple of years, just about trying to move forward. And I think sometimes, for me at least, I would just get stuck. As you know, I was definitely stuck and didn't know really how to zoom, as you say, or to find that joy or really tap into it. It was there, but I just didn't really know how to do it. And I think for a lot of people, that's where we're at. It's in there, but you just don't know how to unlock it. And so I'd been talking to my friend Lynn Young for a while, and she said, I really think you need somebody on the outside that doesn't know you. And maybe you would share differently if you didn't know the person. Maybe you would just open up and blossom. And then maybe you make a new friend, which I did. But it was just really encouraged that you find somebody else that would listen to your journey and encourage you. And so I said, well, let's do this. And I ended up talking to quite a few women all over the world, actually, in Australia and London and Canada and here. And but I really chose you because you just said the right things the first conversation. I could tell that we would connect, and that you had a spirit for wanting to move forward too. And that's what I wanted. I needed somebody else around me that was encouraging me to move forward. And I think that's what all of us need, really. We're just scared sometimes to have that person come into your life, because what happens if you really do move forward?
Absolutely. And I really want to commend you for just, you knew that the something was going to hit the fan. You knew that, and you took that step anyway. And I'm sure that you had trepidation about it. But you were so ready. You were so ready, and you were already doing so much. This is not a question. I also had people who wanted to be coached, and for instance, their big thing that was holding them back was a house full of stuff. Stuff was bogging them down, and really what they needed was someone who would say, now what are you going to do tomorrow? And then call them the next day, and did you do it? And with you, of course, it was on a completely different plane. It was about, I just want to change the world, and I'm already changing the world a little bit, but I just want to take it to the next level. Right? Am I right? Okay. You were already doing so much with your students and with the very innovative programs that you had created, that it was hard in a way it was hard to grasp that you were not satisfied with that and really wanted to do it. There were a lot of things you were unsatisfied with in your job too, I would say, that were holding you back in really doing what you wanted to do on that job. But really, the story was, this is it. This was just the runway. I want to take off. And I sensed that. I also sensed that there was a huge amount of emotion swirling around, that was, you were just experiencing emotion on a very, very high level all the time. And it was a little much.
True.
This is absolutely what coaching is. It means that you have decided you're sick of being stuck and you want to go forward. And why don't you tell me, I didn't sense that you had a lot of fear about it.
There was some fear. It was really just, being stuck is the best way I can describe it. And I think after having sat on my friend Lynn's couch for months on end, not being able to really get to what the root of it was, it just came to me, well, then it's time to invite more people on the journey. You can't get to the root of it sometimes if you only have one person listening. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where community comes in. We forget that we could all journey together. There's lots of us that have different influences and different experiences that could help us, could be that catalyst to move forward, but we're hesitant to move forward. And I think I was doing a lot, but it was that calling deep in my heart to go bigger and bolder that was frightening, because I knew that if we really worked on this, something would be born, that we would have this amazing project, that we would be doing things in the future, that we'd be launching retreats eventually, that all of this would unfold. And that was intimidating because I think we're hesitant to really let that ultimate good in ourselves fly.
Are we afraid of authenticity?
I think we are afraid of authenticity.
And why? I wonder.
And I don't know if it's because we don't practice enough. I mean, I think that's part of what coaching does. Part of removing the barriers is that, to your great life, is the fact that you kind of say, okay, I'm just going to let it go and I'm going to try it. And
Right. What are we all afraid of? Well, we're afraid of failure. We're afraid of judgment. I think one of the biggest things that people allow to hold themselves back is what other people will think. It's huge. It's huge. And it wasn't necessarily huge for you. You might have been a little bit different in that way, but it's huge for a lot of people. And coaching is so helpful, I think, in getting you to realize, well, it's your life. It's going to end someday. It's up to you to create the happiness and the value in your life. And if you're just going to worry about what other people think or what they might say, or failure is big.
yeah,
I mean, we're not just afraid that other people will judge us if we take a step forward and we fail. We're worried about how we're going to judge ourselves. Yeah. Oh, see, you failed. And we have a word in coaching, the saboteur. The saboteur is the little gremlin who sits on your shoulder and says, better not. Well, no, because and thinks of 1,000 reasons why. For instance, well, my mother always told me I was fat, so better not go out there and shake my booty, for instance, and show people that I can move because they'll think I'm fat. That's a big one for me. I know it may not be obvious, but it is for me, and I understand that one really well. But there's a whole segment of society that we feel is just waiting for us to fail and say, see, what? And you took a risk. Now we shouldn't take risks because you might fail. Well, and this is something I need to hear every day.
Yeah. Constant battle to put that gremlin to bed.
Right. Yes, take risks. What do you have to lose? The only thing you have to lose is wasting your life lying around not being who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the boldest things you said to me when we were starting was, you said you do all these other projects, you think you can stop genocide and HIV, but you don't think you can start something new like this. And, I think sometimes we just need somebody who says, hello, think about this differently, but we don't invite anybody in to walk with us.
I guess all we can do is everything we can do. And you are joining forces now and creating an army, terrible words to use, but an army of people who are going to go out and make authenticity and love, let's call it what it is, love, when you remove all of the other excess junk and garbage in life, what's left?
Yeah.
What's left?
Love. It's all that's going to matter.
I know, it's funny. Don't you feel like if you ever have had a conflict with, for instance, your husband or wife, and you manage to get the poison out.
Yeah.
Get the, and this is not always possible in every relationship, I want to acknowledge that, but you get the poison out and it's suddenly like, oh, I love you, because that's all that there was down at the bottom. And it's not just the person who you think you love, your husband and your children. It's everyone that we have that with. And that is what you are working on getting acknowledged in the world, and starting with Colorado.
Yeah. And I think we really, the whole Authenticity Project team, really realized that if we could remove the barriers in our own life, then that separate us from even loving ourselves or loving other people, then that guilt disappears. It's when you feel you aren't really living authentically and you aren't giving from your heart. You're giving because you feel you need to or because it's what you're used to. I just kind of got wrapped up in doing one project after another. I don't think I always was conscious of why I was doing it. It was just kind of you did it to be busy. And then suddenly when I really started to tap into my own heart and remove those barriers and kind of get rid of the poison, so to speak, then you started to heal differently. And then it became almost, honestly, more empowering because you were living from a more solid place than you were when you were just trying to slam it all in and be scattered. And I think our society says, try to slam it all in, but don't really spend any authentic time anywhere you are. Just give a dose here and a dose here and a dose there, but don't actually sit and have a relationship with anyone or yourself.
Right, and there's a lot of ways that I think our society has been doing that for a long time, removing authenticity from everything.
Yeah.
One example that I always think about is the Disneyfication of things. There are really, really powerful old fairy tales and myths and stories and content of our civilization. And not all of it, it's not all bright and sunny. A lot of it is very, very dark and very, very harsh. And possibly a lot of the messages that are there are no longer, really valuable to us.
Yeah.
However, why do we take that, all the content of the literature of our civilization and just homogenize it and make it into little bunny rabbits on a cartoon screen?
Yeah.
That's the first, to me, that was sort of the first step in the removal of authenticity from this particular situation, civilization that we have here in the United States. And now it's spread to everything.
Well, and we want the cozy story, not the real story. And then that's not just about society and issues, but then that becomes about ourselves. So when the real work of being authentic or diving into who you truly are or what your heart's really speaking, it's much easier to just say, well, just give me the simple story that I go to work and I go to the grocery store and I come home and I live and I go to bed and I get up and do it the next morning.
Right.
And don't get complicated. Don't try to tell me there's going to have to be battling of dragons and the real hard work. I just want to hear bunnies sing.
Well,
and then it'll all be better.
Another thing that people spend a lot of time doing in the last 50 years is watching television and getting, not that there aren't some very interesting and good things on television, but the formula of the half-hour sitcom where there's a little bit of a problem and it all gets or a funny situation and maybe some hurt feelings, and then it all gets resolved in 16 minutes or whatever you actually have of time. And then the hour one where you have a more prolonged development of a problem, but it all gets resolved exactly when you know it's going to get resolved. And you have all these cues like the music to tell you when you should have the happy feeling that everyone's going to get along. And then there are video games which completely take, not that I've ever played one, I should admit, take people totally out of life into a completely inauthentic reality, which they then stay in because it's addictive and because it's easier than dealing with reality. The hopefulness that I feel right now, the hope that I feel right now due to the events in the last couple of weeks, including the election, I've never really felt this kind of hope. I'm not saying, oh yes, there's been a breakthrough of authenticity all over this beautiful land and it's coming streaming down from heaven. I don't mean that. But I just feel like there were a couple of little rays of authenticity that came through this incredible dark cloud of total bull.
Yeah. I mean, I think even just the amount of people that got involved, it seems, in the election on both sides this time, people just having more conversation. I feel like there are more and more films coming out that tackle this too. You know, it just seems like people are waking up. But that's a process, and it's something you have to keep fostering, because it's easy to come out of it for a little bit and then go right back in and just shut it right back off. I mean, I think we need to be walking with other people who are feeling the same way. And so how do you do that? You keep finding more and more people that are thinking the same way and are fostering change, and then we can do something, you know? Mm-hmm. So coaching for me removed a lot of barriers, or gave me the tools to remove those barriers. So tell me, how do you do that? How do you get people to say, I'm going to let go of the barriers, undo it, and just go live?
Here's the most essential thing that I want to say about coaching, and you, Heidi, are such a great example of it from start to finish. The client one day decides, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to move on. But basically, the minute you picked up the phone and called Lynn, or whatever it was you did, the action that you took, you created exactly what was going to happen. All I did was, I was just like a blank sheet of paper, actually, that came into your life that you decided for once and for all, I'm going to write what really matters on it. Not that I didn't learn anything in my coaching course. I certainly did. One of the things you have to do as a coach is get out of the way. But the first thing you have to do is have the person identify what their goals are. Now, probably about 100% of the time, the goals that people come in with are not the goals that they wind up accomplishing.
Yeah.
Because people, and I'm not saying this is necessarily you, but people want to keep it small. They want to control it. Well, I'm coming to coaching because basically I'm tired of my job and I want to get a new one. And I just haven't been able to find the motivation.
But not the dream job, not the ultimate
not the dream job.
Not the job that I really want to do in my heart, just a job.
A job. I need to get my house cleaned out because I've been putting it off for a while. That is so common. Well, what's that about? It turns out to be about everything else and not the house and the stuff. It turns out to be just about everything. So that person who comes about that, for instance, house cleaning project, winds up starting a company, getting into a relationship for the first time in 30 years, getting back together with family members they hadn't spoken to in years, dealing with the death of a parent. The stuff that's in your house that came from your mother's house when she died is all about your mother and how you haven't completed that relationship. I mean, that's almost always true. There can be other parts about it too. One of which is the coach is not a therapist. It's only the coach's job to do what the client asks for.
Which is the hard part. Because I think on the client side, really saying, well, what do I need? That this is a time when they're not going to hand it to you. There isn't a handbook that comes with the client side that says, here's some questions to ask yourself. But it's really saying, I'm willing to be asked a difficult question and stew on that for the next 2 weeks and really ruminate in that and not just let it drift off, but really take that question and let it soak in. That I'm going to engage in this and that know that somebody else is on the other side that in 2 weeks or a week is going to ask you, well, what have you been thinking about?
It's almost like getting parts of your brain going which you're not even conscious of. Things start coming up or resolving just while you're asleep practically.
Yeah.
Now, isn't it true, Heidi, that sometimes after the coaching is actually just starting?
Yeah, definitely in my case. It doesn't stop. So, and I find myself now asking myself the questions. Well, what did you think about that? Are you still thinking about it? Did you just ask yourself a question and then move on? Or did you really, really look at what you just asked yourself? And so I think it gives you skills, permanent skills, on how to do that.
But what I am very happy about with you is how you just picked up the phone one day and said, this is it, I'm changing my life. And you took some steps that were scary. And do you want to talk anything about what you accomplished during coaching and after coaching?
I think it's just the fact that, it is picking up that phone is a big step. Just going, okay, I need somebody else to do this with me. And I need somebody from the outside. And, it was beautiful to be able to put all the judgment away that we hadn't met, that you didn't know what I was talking about necessarily. So, yeah, you really had no option but to move forward because story wasn't going to get in the way. And therapy is good, but I think sometimes we do get so lost in the drama of the story that you never get to forward. Mm-hmm. And I wanted forward. Mm-hmm. So
you sure did.
And I've changed every area of my life. So it's powerful to just say, I'm going to pick up that phone and I'm going to do something different today.
And I want to acknowledge you that not very many coaching clients who coach for 5 months, 4 or 5 months was all, and not that often, totally turn their whole life upside down, so that a completely different aspect of everything is on top now.
Yeah.
And so you really wanted to do it, and you're a very powerful person, and you said, I know what I need.
But I think we all have that. I really do. I think everybody has that. It's just how far you've buried it. And I was doing lots of that already, but not everywhere, and not as to the level it could be done, And I think it's just saying to yourself, okay, are you really going to change, or are those hollow words? We all say, I'm going to change this, I'm going to make this better. Well, are you? Or are you just rattling that off to make it look like it's a New Year's resolution or something?
We have so many reasons. Yeah. We have so many reasons. By the way, a lot of people put coaching on their New Year's resolution lists, and some probably never make the call, and some do. And the minute people put that down on their list, they're ready. People's fears are often codified as reasons. Oh, well, the reason I can't deal with this house full of junk is because it's going to take too much time. The reason that I can't deal with this house full of stuff is because I have to do this and this and this first. People come up with all kinds of reasons, but really it's just fear. Fear. I was just reading the other day about a lady who came to a coach with a house full of junk issue. You don't have this problem. But she had, when she came to the coach, she said, well, this is going to take 6 months to do. And like 2 weeks later, the house was cleaned up. The woman was, she was so full of energy that she had, renovated another house, gotten a new boyfriend, and started a new job. Things that she thought she wanted to do for like 10 years. And that was what was stuck. Everyone has something that's stuck, and it may not always seem to be the thing that's stuck. Like, maybe in your case, it seemed like it was the job that was stuck. But there were other things that were stuck.
Yeah.
And just having someone ask questions is how you find out about that.
Well, it helps you move the clutter. Metaphorically or in reality.
Yeah, why am I talking about clutter? It's because it's all clutter, whether it's clutter in your house. I don't have a cluttered house, but that doesn't mean that I don't have clutter somewhere. Yeah. Stuff that I'm unwilling to process or afraid of processing. fear is the main thing that keeps people from doing things.
And I guess I was excited. Some people said, why would you invite somebody who doesn't know you into that process? I found that exciting, that there was a chance to have someone you don't know impart wisdom and unpack the clutter with you. And then, yeah, not everybody, I'm sure, becomes then friends and sits down in person with
Oh,
a
and I thought I would never meet you.
But, and I didn't know if I would. I mean, we don't know that when you pick somebody. But, I think that's the beauty of just trying something different like this, that you don't know what's going to come out of that. But it's really just saying, I'm going to change now. Not tomorrow, not in 6 months, not when I'm this much older, or when I've got kids, or when the kids are gone, or when I've accomplished this job, or when I've made this much money. Now. What are we wasting time for?
Yeah, it's really true. And in my case, a real starter for me was when my 49-year-old sister died. And I'm older than that, and I thought, oh boy, she never knew that was going to happen. None of us ever thought that one of the youngest people in my family was going to die. What does that mean? It means that it's time to do whatever it is you want to do. I'm just so much more satisfied with the things that I do every day. Things seem so much more beautiful to me because I've given myself permission to feel that.
Yeah.
I've always been very, very consumed with visual beauty and with music. And yet I always felt I had to, keep that. Don't really enjoy that. Why? Because you don't deserve it. Or, who knows? Whatever reason, my coach helped me get to the bottom of it and say, yes, you can have fun every single day and be happy every single day. The boogeyman is not going to get you because of that. I wasn't even planning when I made that remark about the boogeyman is not going to get you just because you're happy. And that sort of just came out spontaneously, but I really do think that anyone who's from any kind of European society has a very, very big fear, and the fear is the fear of the evil eye. Now, the evil eye is one of the oldest European concepts. I wouldn't even know how many thousands of years old it is. And what it is the evil eye is something you have to protect yourself from. And the evil eye does not want you to have fun or be happy, and is against any kind of success or anything. So you have to cover up or not have fun experiences. And it's a really, really old tradition, but there are places I've heard in parts of Greece where, all the ladies wear black all the time and they don't have any dental care, and they live very, very primitive lives, just like they have for hundreds of years. And apparently, the way things work there is that when you have a new baby and you're walking it down the street, the first person will say, "Oh, what an ugly child." Then the next person you see will say, "Really ugly, and I'm sure he'll be dead within a year." And it's because, and all of this is goodwill, because it's meant to protect that baby from the evil eye. So and there's also, there are concepts in Greek mythology about not inspiring the jealousy of the gods. All kinds of people get in trouble because they are either so beautiful or so accomplished or such a great warrior that they somehow provoke the jealousy of the gods, and then retribution follows. So actually, there's a very sort of really, really deep cultural bias against enjoyment, fun, appreciation of beauty, and that's when I said the boogeyman is the evil eye, really. So anyway, you can include that or not if you want. But you were talking about how in the old days it was more common for people to be sitting around after dinner at night, possibly doing things, fixing things, mending things, and talking. And getting a lot of issues resolved, advice, love, support, maybe some other things too, but that there was, and that was social contact, whether it was just with family members or with other members of the community. And there's research now showing that, first of all, there's much more isolation now. Far more people in the United States live by themselves than ever before. A lot of people are very, very isolated because of the fact that they live by themselves, and they don't really have a need to go out because they have electronic forms of games and stimulation and all kinds of things.
Mail. You don't even need to go mail something.
Right, you can order in everything. And this actually is going to lead in the long run to a reduction in life expectancy because of all of the strands of longevity that they've tried to pull out through research. Why do some people live long lives? Why do they live healthy lives where their minds do not deteriorate, and other people, by the time they're 65, even if they live a lot longer, they're not able to enjoy their lives very much because of the condition of their body or their mind. And they've found that you can subtract a lot of things: diet, exercise, job, all that stuff out. What really matters is the number of social contacts that people have. So people who are, we've always known that people who are married live longer than people who are not married, usually, and people who are isolated are now seen as really giving up years of their lives because of the lack of social contact, which probably certainly has a biological function.
Yeah.
Because if it didn't have one, then it wouldn't affect longevity. Anyway, so it is really, really important.
I just want to encourage people to do that because we have to get out and connect. I think the more we're isolated, the more our fear gets a hold of us. The more we don't want to talk about it, the more everything seems impossible. And that was something great about coaching, was that you were inviting that process in, And although I had that process in different ways, it's still just inviting it in on a bold level. It's really saying to yourself, I'm going to do this. Do you want to make a change? If that's something you're thinking, I want to make a change, and I'm stuck where I am, and I don't know how to get past that, then this is great.
So let me ask you this: should they let fear get in the way? What role does fear have?
Fear's big, especially when you're inviting somebody into your life that doesn't know anything about you, because then all that society stuff comes back. Well, what if you don't think I'm successful, or what if you think I'm crazy, or if I tell you this is what I think I could do, are you going to say that's ridiculous, tone it down a notch?
So if it feels risky, should they do it anyway?
I think you should do it anyway.
And if it feels scary, should they do it anyway?
I think you should, even if you're scared. I had a friend who said that, if you weren't feeling that fear, that you weren't on the right track, because you should feel a little bit of that fear.
Yes,
when you're moving to make big change.
I just want to say sometimes it's very pain-free.
Yeah.
And sometimes it isn't. Do you think people should let the fact that they don't think they need coaching stop them? If they've had the idea that coaching might be interesting, do you think they should let the fact that they don't really need it stop them?
I don't know that I needed it. All of us maybe don't need something. We can all justify reasons why we don't need something.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of, are you willing to figure out what you might have been missing instead,
Mm-hmm.
And that's where inviting relationship like that into your life could really be a catalyst, because you don't even know what you're missing. I didn't know that thinking that I could change world issues but not my own life was a problem. I mean, nobody had ever said to me, why do you think you can stop genocide but you can't stop this? You know, it's just sometimes I think sometimes you've not heard the right question.
It's a totally new perspective. It's an outside perspective which may come up with some surprising observations. I think that's the first thing. There are times when you meet with a lot of resistance from your saboteur, who does not want to give up the control that he, she, or it has. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we say in coaching is, the saboteur is really, talking a lot right now. Why don't we give it a job? Go out and sweep the porch. And just leave us alone for a minute. Everyone has saboteurs. I sure do too.
Well, and being heard is something we all want. We
Yes.
want to know that we're heard.
Uh-huh.
And then I think in knowing that you're heard, there's a confidence that builds that says I can also listen to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I actually value what myself is saying.
Well,
when you say listen to your heart, but people say, well, my heart doesn't have anything good to say.
Well, exactly, and
Yeah, it does.
that's another purpose of coaching, is to, God, people are so wonderful, and in a lot of cases they're hiding it under any number of bushels. They're a little light in many ways, and the coach, just simply because of the nature of the whole situation and the way it comes about, which is people giving themselves this nice little gift, I get to immediately see the most beautiful parts about people. And it is just gives me so much joy to be able to do that.
If we would just invite relationship in to our lives a little bit more,
Well, you're just much more likely to make a difference in other people's lives, and have them make a difference in your life.
Well, and it goes back to, if you take care of yourself first and you're really in tune to what you need, then you can go make a bigger difference. But you have to be in tune with what you need first.
I invite anyone who is ready to give themselves a beautiful gift, and anyone who's dedicated to being their authentic self and bringing out authenticity in life. Coaching is what it's all about, and it can happen one person at a time, half an hour a week.
Yeah, if we all just decided we could do more,
Mm-hmm.
and then find somebody who can walk you that way.
Mm-hmm.
We stop having teachers at some point in our lives, and I think it's a type of teacher.
People who walked up the mountain for 3 days in the ice and snow to get a word from the wise person, obviously whatever words that person said had incredible meaning for the person who walked up there, and they changed their lives because of doing it. It wasn't so much the wise person, it was the person.
Yeah, because you can hear it but not take it in. There's lots of people who listen and don't take it in and really use it.
So I want to invite everyone to get a coach, give yourself the gift, and I want to talk to you again 3 months from now and see where you are.
And I think even if it can't be a coach, you've got to find somebody who's going to push you and ask you those questions. It's just sometimes I see coaching as, it's like that airplane ride when you start talking to the person next to you because you don't know them, so you're willing to be more open, and sometimes that's what it takes, is somebody that you don't know to just start asking the questions. And that's the beauty of that, is it's kind of like that airplane ride, except you keep coming back to the same seat.
Mm-hmm.
It's just good. I think whatever we can try to push ourselves forward, and the more things we can try, the better off we're going to be. So, thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Fox rolling in off the East River bank like a shroud. Baker Street fills the alleys where men sleep.